Good morning, everybody. This is TJ with Netpicks.com. I'm going to do some live trading with the trend jumper. Got a long trade on crude oil here at 97.36. I'm going to adjust it up one tick just to try to get above that resistance there. And actually, the trade just canceled, so I'm still waiting for a setup. You can see that it's a little bit of congestion here into the jump line. And between the two EMAs, typically showing us where we could expect some congestion. The first trade happened a moment ago. It set up earlier and it was still live during our start time. Able to grab it right here, and it came up. It almost hit the money management level, missed the first target by one tick. And then it finally did pop through, and we had to move our stop up and lock in a tick. Came down, touched the stop. Basically, it was a break-even trade. Won a tick. Took care of commissions. Need to make one more winner to hit our goals for the day. So we'll get another setup here in a moment, hopefully. If not, we'll just be patient and wait. We're in the midst of our trend jumper launch. A few more days. Have a lot of new members coming on board the trend jumper, so I thought I would do a live trading video just to demo the strategy a little further for those that are still looking and still doing their due diligence on the strategy. Oh, there we go, 97.41. Alright, so the trade is placed. Smaller trade. We're going to 55. And the stop is at 29. When I'm right up against these lines here, I like to get below them, so I'm going to adjust it a couple ticks down. I know it definitely costs a little extra if I get stopped out, but that could be enough to keep me in the trade if the price comes down and bounces off the line again. So I'll make a 2-tick adjustment from time to time. Whoops. Got some other charts I'm looking at. In fact, while this trade takes shape here, let's see what else is happening. Yeah, we got heating oil here. So I could see what I'm doing right here on crude, so I could just keep an eye on it. Heating oil's in a nice long here, but it happened before our start time. Looks like crude is about ready to trigger in. I want to make sure I get my Russell chart set up here. Alright, so it almost came up and touched it. The key level at the 10-cent level, 40 cents, held the price in check, came back down. We'll see if it's going to come up again. The setup is not yet canceled. So we're going to keep that trade on. Okay, this setup is about to cancel, and it just did. So we'll take that off and wait for a new setup. So the trend jumper handling the session pretty well thus far, pretty choppy. Got us into one trade that came close to target, but then stopped out at our risk-free level. Always trying to get to a risk-free position. It's part of the strategy. You know, people often wonder how trend jumper handles choppy trading, and you can see it does a pretty good job most of the time. Nothing's going to be perfect all of the time, but so far it's kept us out of this mess. Pretty messy price action, and just by following the setups and following the rules, we've been able to stay out of it. We may get a long setup here in a moment. We even might have to take a loss or two before we hit our winners. Trading tight inside of these two lines here, they're EMAs. This signals and lets us know that odds might not be quite so good. 97.31. Let's take that, and actually let's adjust that up to 32.
Order rejected.
Just to see if I could avoid getting in some chop. I may not be able to avoid it.
Order filled.
So it got filled anyway. Stop is at 14. Put that down. I'm going to put this. Alright, so what I did was I adjusted the stop a little bit below this level here. And I also adjusted the entry a little bit above here. And, you know, normally I don't make adjustments when I look to my left and see even more adjustments, you know, trying to get around these little spikes. But I am trying to avoid getting into some chop if I can, so I'm willing to pay a little extra That could backfire, but it's just what I did. So I kind of messed up my risk reward ratio on this. Adjustments are like insurance policies. You know, they only cost you when they don't work. If it keeps you out of a trade, then of course it's worth it and it doesn't cost you anything. But sometimes you put on the adjustment, the trade's going to lose anyway. So I try to keep my adjustments to a minimum. But when the market is choppy like this, if I could avoid getting triggered in falsely, I'm going to pay a little extra. And hopefully if it does keep going up, maybe I pick up some extra with the trailer. And we'll see how this one works out. I definitely have to break through some resistance here to even get to the money management level at 42. If I get to 42, then I'm moving stops up and cutting risk. You could see the subsequent setup here. These are usually good trades and a good sign, with the yellow line coming up to meet the magenta line. You start off with the blue trade. This is called a crossover trade, and then you get what's called a jump trade. And this could signify a move higher with subsequent jump trades coming out of some consolidation here. If it does break out and start moving higher, there are opportunities to literally add to the position and build a position. It's a more advanced approach. It's not something we're typically doing with our futures trading, but it is something I like to point out to people when it happens. As you master the strategy of the trend jumper, you will learn what to look for and when. And as you grow your account, you can learn how to literally grow positions. We do that with Forex all the time. But of course, with Forex, we have the ability to scale down our position size so that we're not overexposed to the market with too much risk. It's hard to do with futures until you grow your account, because of course futures contracts are standardized and you can't trade smaller than the contract. But with Forex, you could trade a combination of micros and minis and really get your position tuned up to the proper risk levels so that you're not over leveraged. And in such a way, we could build really large positions with our swing trading techniques. That's how we get the really big numbers that you may have seen on the blog with our Forex swing trading. So it appears like crude wants to go higher. We really don't know yet. It hasn't happened yet, but it's showing signs that it could break higher. And this could be the beginnings of a rally, actually. We'll see if that happens. Having a hard time getting through that $97.40 level. In fact, I think at this point I'm safe to move my stop to its original place of 97.14. I think it's got enough support underneath. If it comes down and hits the stop here and then goes higher, that would be rather unpleasant, but I guess anything's possible. But I do want to get my stop back to where it needs to be. And I did adjust on the entry as well, so we'll see. I got a couple EMAs underneath here, and it's gone, pretty good distance. The entry was at 31. Alright, so it's got as high as 39. Didn't quite go to our money management level. Can't seem to get through that 40-cent level. And this is a real moment of truth, or a series of moments of truth, because if it can't go higher, there's a good chance then it may turn and actually go the other way. And I guess the third option is it can just continue to go up and down and sideways. And we have no control over what it does, so there's no point even worrying about it. There's a trade, there's a rule, there's a plan. Rules, I should say. And it's just a trade. It's a trade in a series of a whole bunch of trades. And some of those trades don't work out. But enough of them do work out to continue to make money with the trade plan, and that's the reason we're trading in the first place, to make money. So you just can't fret the trade you're in. Doesn't do any good. Then you just have to take another trade, right? So it will do what it will do. Meanwhile, look at that heating oil trade. Would have been nice to be able to take that. However, the start time's at 9 a.m. and that trade was already off and running. So that plan hasn't given a setup yet. Over here at the EJ Euro Yen, there was a small trade right here actually, and that one was a nice winner. When the targets are so small, we ignore them and we go to a 15 pip level. And if you look at the data window, this one went from 140.29, right? So add 2 pips of spread, call it 140.31. The middle target's too close, so we're going to go to 15 pips, which would be 46, and it spiked up to 49 and change. So this first trade made 15 pips, and then stops should have been moved up to lock in a pip on the remaining position. So if you're trading the single trade there, you're already finished with your goals. Power of quitting would have been 17 pips if you're doing the three positions. If you're taking add-on trades, which the trade plan allows you to do, then this trade would have been a loser. You would have stopped and reversed to short. It almost hit its middle target, and that one is it's not too small actually where you would go with 15 pips. You would actually go to the target and then take risk off the remainder. So a couple different ways to trade it. The add-on trades could be very powerful. So if you're using them, you would, obviously that you're still not positive on the session. You still need another trade. But it looks pretty messy. Now these trades back here looks like they were losing trades, but none of them counted because we don't start until 8:20, and that was actually at the beginning of this green bar here. So the first trade was literally this one. So even though it's going sideways, the strategy handled it pretty well. Remember, it's not just dots on the chart. We follow rules, trade plans. They've been well researched. They continue to work over time. That's how we find success trading. Meanwhile, you can see with crude oil, it's still hanging in there, and it still looks like it's poised to go higher. And hopefully it'll break through. Maybe when the U.S. market opens, that'll give it enough push. Well, that could send it south. We'll just have to watch. And I think what I'm going to do now is get the Russell E-mini going here, because I like trading the Russell. It's just been really steady. Even though this is the time of year when it could be not so great, this year it's been so far pretty darn good. I'm keeping my eye on crude oil. We have a few minutes before the U.S. market opens. Possible short on the S&P as well. We have to wait until the bell at 8:30 Central. But that is a small short trade, and if that trade might be one to get in sync with. So a lot going on. Quite a move down during the European hours. Is it bottoming out, or is that just a consolidation to try to get even lower? We're already down 12.5 points this morning on the S&P. And the Dow E-mini also currently in a short. Looking fairly similar. Got to keep an eye on that also, because 2 minutes after the bell, we'll see if that's a trade to get in sync with. I'm not going to try to trade all these markets, but these are the markets being traded in our live trade room. We trade these every day, and of course soybeans also. That one starts right at 8:30 as well. And when I say 8:30, a lot of you might be thinking, wait a minute, isn't it almost 9:30? Yeah, Eastern Standard Time is almost 9:30, but we always go with exchange time. So there's so many people all over the world with different time zones and different exchanges in different locations. So I like to set my charts to exchange time, and that way I'm always ready. Okay, look, we've popped through. We've got to get over here and manage. Look what's happened. So I need to move my stop up. And normally, notice how it went to 32, and that doesn't totally lock in a tick because I made adjustments, right? So I don't want to get out of the trade prematurely, and if I move my stop up to 34 and lock in a tick, I could get bumped out of what could be a good trade. So I'm willing to hang on to a tick of risk now That's the price you pay when you make adjustments. So I did make that adjustment, and therefore I'm not able to lock in a tick. But still, I only have one tick of risk. The whole idea is I want to stay in the trade. I want to give this trade every chance to succeed. Like I said, it looks like it wants to move higher. It's got to fight through every inch of the way, right? Now look, I've gotten within 2 ticks of my full target, so now I will take the risk off the trade, because now I'm close enough where if it comes back, I want to cover my costs. I still want
Order
to give it
filled.
time. Look at that trade worked out. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And look how perfect the target was, too. That target was dead on the money, and we see this all the time with Trend Jumper. But notice how I handled the trade. This is not really for the faint of heart, I guess, or for beginning traders, because you see this choppy action, you're like, oh my God, you start freaking out. I don't want to trade inside all these zebra stripes here. This is an ugly looking chart. But you have to elevate to a higher position. You have to think of yourself not as some guy trying to trade. Notice that the green line went up and we moved our stop already, but the stop is following the green line, so it already went to 34. So the stop is at the right place. Okay, and it's going to go up again. So my point is, though, is that you really want to be the facilitator of your trade plan, and just take the trade, remove yourself psychologically from it. Don't be emotionally invested in the single trade. All we did was lean on the system. It took the pressure off. I didn't feel the pressure because it's the strategy is what would be culpable. Yeah, sure, I'm going to lose money if the trade loses, but only temporarily. It's just a single transaction, really. I'm still in business. I'm still going to place another trade. So I have to always remember that, because long term, the winners come around. And, it avoided all this chop, and then finally got into this trade, and that was the right trade. I mean, how perfect can you get? I mean, it's too perfect. And I'm hoping it's going to go higher now for my trailer. But I've hit my goals. Power of quitting is what we use. You hit your full winner, you have a positive result, you quit for the day. And like this, you grow your account on a day-to-day basis. It's winning in the high 80s, 80%, 85% of its sessions. And that's dating all the way back to November of 2012, October even. October of 2012, and that's when I started really tracking these trades on this trade plan. So, long track record, so who am I to come in here and all of a sudden be nervous about a single trade when there's literally hundreds and hundreds of trades and it just continues to work? You see how much better off you are when you take a point of view from that higher perspective? You can place these trades and just not worry about it. And that's a tough lesson to learn for a lot of traders. But once you learn it, it's like a big light bulb moment. That's when you start to see your account grow. So we'll just continue to monitor this. Let's jump over and see what else is happening. So probably while I was talking, let's see. Yeah, had a chance to get into S&P, into the ES, but I was talking too much and I missed it. And it's already come down too far. As far as the Dow, I probably had a chance to do that. Well, 832 really. 832. Yeah, I would have had a chance to take this trade right there. So that one's going. And the Russell, yeah, that one, well, that one probably worked too. I wasn't watching it. Intra bar, that's at 931. Yeah, could have taken that one too. And that one's finished. So, I'm talking too much and missed some good trades there. The risk of doing these videos. For some reason,
Order
the
filled.
indicator didn't load. Okay, so crude oil just finished. That's what that sound was. Right there. So, that's it. Crude oil's done. Look at how perfect that trade was. It wants to come back into the chop zone here. But we're in, we're out, we're done. We've avoided the mess. We've made some money. It's Friday. I get to go into the weekend happy. Just thought I'd jump back on the mic for a moment here and do a little follow-up and just show you some of the other trades happening this morning. You just saw me trade crude oil and finish the session as per that trade plan, and I pointed out the S&P trade that we could get right at the bell, and I missed it because I was just talking and not paying attention. I was looking at crude and talking about that trade, but you could see what happened here, how it triggered in, and it's still going. Okay, so that's a full winner. That'll be the only trade for that market this morning. And look at the Russell. That one also triggered in, and that one's going. This is going to be a nice big winner to end the week. The one I pointed out on the Dow Mini was back here, and it actually, I'll show you what happened. It stopped out, unfortunately. It spiked down and then came up, and it hit the stop by one tick. And, nothing's perfect. It's unfortunate when that happens because it would have been a full winner. But that one wasn't a full winner. It was a loser. So the second trade is here. And this one came down, and it's already hit its money management level, and the stops have moved down. It may or may not hold. Looks like it just stopped out for only 1 point. So we've seen the YM struggle a bit while some of the other markets have actually done quite well, just because it's been not as smooth. These rallies seem to just be, they grind. Not everything's perfect, of course. The strategy is what it is. Soybeans was one and done. First trade of the day was here, and it zoomed up. Look at that target again, perfectly positioned. And then it came down, stopped out for only one tick on the trailer, but this is a full winner and a positive result. So soybeans finished with one trade today. I was showing you the euro yen. Let me just come back to that. We'll take a look. So this one did end up coming down and hitting its full target and its second target, and it's still trailing. So this will end up being very positive. Now, if you were in this trade and you saw another short, you would have the option to take another add-on trade to actually take another short position down. But you have to handle that very conservatively because you don't want it to pick your pocket. You don't want to get positive after all this and then find yourself negative again going into a Friday, right? You want to end positive. So if one were to take this add-on trade, you would want to be very tight with that stop and protect your profits. Hopefully it's going to sell off further. We're going to trail the purple line all the way down and look at the S&P heading lower. This is a good one to add to your position. If you know how, you could literally take that trade. You could take that trade because the S&P is a lot more flexible with the way it's designed as far as how many contracts you could put on. Of course, you want to just never over leverage. It has to be always dependent upon your available trade capital. And heating oil now finally getting into a long trade. That's the first trade of the day. I'm a little skeptical about heating oil after a really big move, but you never know. This could be one of those days where the prices just flow really well. That's the first trade of the day on heating oil. We'll see how that one turns out. And I thought I'd take a look at the NQ, also the NASDAQ E-mini, since we're looking at the E-minis. Notice how the S&P did just finish right there, so that's finished, and the Russell just finished as well. So what did those trades make? Give you some results here. Soybeans ended with 2.25 points, and it finished the week with 15 points. 15 points. It only lost 2 trades all week. Heating oil just hit its money management level, I believe. Maybe it missed by 1 tick. 40. Yeah, I got to 39. Just barely missed. Okay, so let's see. How did these other ones do? Well, let's take a look at the NQ really quickly because this one was probably good. You could tell. At 8:30. So missed a little bit on the downside here, and actually the first trade ended up losing, and the second trade lost on the NQ. A couple losses in here, okay, just barely on the yellow trade because that was a good setup. So then you come back on the blue trade and make it all back. So the NQ, a little rough start just because it started moving a bit ahead of our start time. So that's how that one worked out. But you just stay with it because the winners come. That's the most important thing. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be sensible and stay with the plan. There you can see heating oil is now in a risk-free position. If that could pop up and hit the full target, then the goals will be reached on that market as well. And let's see, the Russell made 15 ticks to the first target. It's $150, but look how much it made on the trailer. 1156.10. That was 6.3, so 7.8 points. $780 on this trade here. And that one's done for the week as well. And the Russell made over 10 points this week. Of course, most of it coming on that one trade. But it also did pretty well. It had, let's see, on the 22nd, that was a small losing day, but Monday was good. Yesterday made 3 points. Today made 7.8. So not bad. Anytime you can get 10 points or more on the Russell in a week, you're doing pretty darn good, especially when you're only taking like the one trade a day sometimes. All right, and so with the S&P, 1808 and a quarter. You could see on the data window where it got out, 1808. So that was 4.5 points, so not bad, right? We got 1.5 points here, pretty small setup, and then a nice move lower. 3-point trailer, so 4.5 points on the S&P, and the S&P finished the week quite nicely as well with 16.25 points. It only lost one trade. There were 1, 2, 3. There were only 5 trades all week, and it won 4 out of 5. Now, there are a lot more trades showing on the chart, but you don't have to trade more to make money. The philosophy we adopt is about quality, not quantity. And then when we want to give ourselves a raise, we just move our finger over from a 2 to a 3, and we add another position. We don't have to trade more. We just let our accounts grow, stick to our risk parameters, and just increase our position size accordingly. And like this, we could have a life. We could trade less, make a lot of money, and go do the other things we enjoy in life. And that's what trend jumper trading is all about. All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the next video. This is TJ with Netpicks.com and the PTU Trend Jumper Trading Strategy.